Welcome back to another episode of HealthCap Weekly Wrap.
Yeah, we've got a lot to cover this week. Some really timely updates for anyone working in senior living.
Right, we're talking everything from new disinfection and sterilization guidance
To some exciting ways AI and wearable tech are changing how we approach dementia trials.
Plus, there's a study that digs into why some frontline aides may miss the signs of elder abuse and what we can do about it.
We're also checking out the latest from Post-Acute and Long-Term Care Medical Association's Moving Needles Project, a HUD Lean 232 bulletin that could impact capital planning.
And PharMerica's 5 quick tips for feeling more confident with GG documentation.
And we'll wrap things up with CMS's latest focus on discharge planning, what surveyors are looking for, and how teams can prepare.
Let's get started.
All right, kicking things off, there's a brand new guidance out on sterilization and high-level disinfection.
Yeah, this one's coming from Infection Control and Hospital Epidemiology, published by Cambridge University Press. It pulls together a ton of expertise from groups like SHEA, APIC, AORN, and more.
And it updates the practices we've all been leaning on since the 2008 and 2024 CDC guidelines. What's great is how hands-on it is. Like, they actually walk you through using Spalding's classification to figure out what needs high-level disinfection versus sterilization.
Right, and they really stress the importance of point-of-use cleaning, verifying sterilization cycles with every load, and not skipping steps like drying and storage. It's all there in the guidance.
For senior living communities, this is a big deal, especially in rehab spaces or dental suites where you might be reprocessing instruments.
Exactly. The authors even highlight the risk of device cross-contamination between residents if tracking and maintenance procedures aren't in place.
And they call out the need for interdisciplinary collaboration too. Infection preventionists, nursing staff, environmental services, everyone needs to be on the same page.
So if you want to check it out, the article is called Multisociety Guidance for Reprocessing, Flexible Endoscopes, and Other Critical and Semi-Critical Devices. And you can find it in the July issue of Infection Control and Hospital Epidemiology.
Definitely worth a read, and maybe even a topic for your next staff in service.
All right, next up, some promising developments in the world of dementia care and clinical trials.
Yeah, this one comes from the Alzheimer's and Dementia Journal, and it's a collaboration with the Alzheimer's Association. They're exploring how AI and wearable technologies are making a big impact in Alzheimer's research.
What's cool is that these tools aren't just about data collection. They're helping researchers track changes in cognition, mobility, even sleep patterns, all in real time.
And they're doing it passively, which is huge for people in the early stages of cognitive decline who might struggle with traditional testing.
The article points out that this tech can reduce the burden on participants and even help researchers include more diverse populations who might otherwise be left out.
That part really stood out. We know underrepresentation in clinical trials is a long-standing issue, especially for older adults in senior living communities.
Right. And the use of things like smartwatches, remote monitoring, and AI-based pattern detection is changing the game. It means better data, earlier interventions, and potentially faster approvals for new treatments.
The Alzheimer's Association is pushing for more of this innovation, especially as we're seeing enrollment in trials become a real bottleneck.
So for senior living teams, this isn't just research, it's a glimpse into how future care models could integrate tech to track resident wellness more proactively.
And if families are asking about emerging treatments or trials, knowing about tools like these can help you have more informed conversations.
Again, the full study is in the Alzheimer's and Dementia Journal. It's titled Digital Health Technologies in Alzheimer's Disease Clinical Trials, a position paper from the Alzheimer's Association.
Really exciting stuff.
All right, let's talk about something that doesn't always get enough attention: elder abuse, and more specifically, how well frontline aides understand it.
Yeah, McKnight's published a piece titled Researchers Offer Ways to Overcome AIDS' Shallow Understanding of Elder Abuse. And the findings are honestly a little unsettling.
The research showed that many aides have a limited understanding of what actually constitutes elder abuse, especially in cases that aren't physical. Things like emotional neglect, financial exploitation, or even subtle signs of coercion often go unnoticed.
And part of the problem is that the training they're getting isn't always comprehensive or memorable. One-time sessions or check-the-box modules aren't sticking.
Exactly. The researchers suggest more scenario-based training and role-playing to help aides recognize abuse in real-world situations. And maybe most importantly, making sure they feel empowered to report it.
That's a big piece. Some aides don't feel like their concerns will be taken seriously, or they're afraid of retaliation from coworkers.
In senior living communities, that creates real risk, not just for residents, but for the staff culture as a whole.
Right. The article emphasized the need for clearer policies, open-door reporting, and frequent education that goes beyond just definitions.
And let's be honest, this isn't just about compliance. This is about protecting the dignity and well-being of our residents.
So if you're in a leadership role, it might be time to revisit your abuse reporting training and make sure it's practical, supportive, and ongoing.
Again, the article is from McKnight's Long-Term Care News, published in May 2025, and it's a solid resource for team discussions or in-services.
All right, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about performance improvement. Post-Acute and Long-Term Care Medical Association just released their July 2025 Moving Needles Project newsletter, and there's a lot in there for senior care teams to unpack.
Yeah, this project is all about using data to actually move the needle on quality outcomes. It's not just tracking metrics. It's about turning that data into action.
This month's issue focused on clinical priorities like infection prevention, rehospitalization rates, and survey readiness. And one thing they really highlighted was the role of interdisciplinary teams.
Right. They're saying, look, it's not enough for the DON or the administrator to carry all of this. The real change happens when CNAs, dietary, therapy, everybody is looped in.
Exactly. There was also a section on aligning QAPI efforts with your state's latest guidance. So if you're prepping for a survey or just trying to boost outcomes, it's a helpful benchmark.
And the way they present it is super actionable. You get sample dashboards, strategies for root cause analysis, and even talking points for your next team meeting.
For communities trying to balance compliance, quality, and staffing challenges, this kind of focused content can make a real difference.
Totally agree. Even just skimming through it could help you rethink how you're using your data, especially if your QAPI meetings have started to feel a little stale.
So again, that's from Post-Acute and Long-Term Care Medical Association's Moving Needles Project newsletter, July 2025 edition.
Definitely worth passing along to your leadership team.
Next up, let's shift into the financial lane for a minute. Because HUD's Office of Residential Care Facilities just released an update on the Lean 232 program.
Yeah, this came out in their June 11th email blast, and for anyone involved in the financing or development side of senior living, this one's worth a close look.
So the big headline here is that HUD's tightening the focus on portfolio oversight and underwriting requirements. They're signaling more scrutiny on operator performance, especially when it comes to occupancy trends and staffing stability.
They also emphasized the importance of transparent communication between borrowers and lenders. Basically, they want operators to be proactive about challenges before they become problems.
Right? And there's a push toward earlier engagement in the refinancing process. They don't want providers waiting until the last minute to address maturing loans or capital needs.
For communities exploring renovations, expansions, or even ownership transitions, this could change how you approach your timelines.
And with rising construction costs and fluctuating interest rates, understanding where HUD is headed with Lean 232 is key for long-term planning.
If your leadership team hasn't seen this yet, it's definitely something to bring up at the next strategic meeting, especially if you've got debt coming due in the next 12 to 24 months.
Again, that's from the HUD ORCF Lean 232 email blast, dated June 11th, 2025. It's not light reading, but it could help your community stay ahead financially.
All right, next up, let's talk documentation, specifically Section GG.
Yeah, Pharmerica just released a handy PDF called 5 Tips to Be Okay with GG Documentation. And honestly, it's one of the more approachable guides we've seen.
Totally. GG documentation can get overwhelming, especially with all the pressure around PDPM accuracy and care planning. But this guide breaks it down into 5 simple, actionable steps.
One of the big takeaways, start with the end in mind. Meaning, what's your discharge goal and how do you build documentation that supports it from day one?
They also talk about leveraging interdisciplinary communication. So instead of therapy documenting in a silo and nursing doing their own thing, this encourages alignment right from the initial assessment.
And there's a strong push for real-time documentation, not backdated entries. That helps with accuracy and reduces stress when audits or surveys come around.
Another tip I liked was using objective measures consistently. Things like gait distance or bed mobility. It's about telling the resident's story clearly through data.
And for communities where turnover is high, this could be a great onboarding tool for new MDS nurses or therapists.
Right, it's short, it's focused, and it can help teams feel a little less intimidated by GG scoring, which is good news for reimbursement and resident outcomes.
So again, that's 5 tips to be okay with GG documentation, published by PharMerica. Might be worth printing out and posting in the therapy office.
Or turning into a quick lunch and learn.
All right, rounding things out this week with something every community needs to have on their radar, discharge planning, and specifically, CMS's focus on it, under FTAGs F627 and 628.
Yeah, the CMS Compliance Group just released a resource that outlines what surveyors are looking for when they review discharge documentation. And it's more detailed than some might expect.
One of the main points? Discharge isn't just a nursing task. It needs to be a team effort. Therapy, social services, dietary, even activities might need to contribute, depending on the resident's needs.
They're looking for clear evidence that the team evaluated the resident's discharge potential early on, and that planning didn't just start a few days before they left.
Right. And if the resident's discharge goal changed, like maybe they were expected to return home but then ended up transferring to another level of care, CMS wants to see documentation that explains why.
It's also about continuity of care. Did the team coordinate with the next provider? Were discharge instructions communicated in a way that the resident or their family could actually understand?
And just as important, did the facility document that the resident was involved in the process? That's something surveyors are actively asking about during interviews now.
So if your team hasn't reviewed your discharge templates or interdisciplinary notes recently, this is a good nudge.
Again, the resource is from CMS Compliance Group, and it covers FTAGs 627 and 628 in depth. Super helpful as both a survey prep tool and a resident care safeguard.
Definitely one to pass along to your QAPI team or DON.
That's going to do it for this week's episode of HealthCap Weekly Wrap.
We covered a lot: new infection control guidance, innovations in dementia research, frontline education on elder abuse, and key updates from Post-Acute and Long-Term Care Medical Association, HUD, PharMerica, and CMS.
Yeah, whether it's clinical best practices, documentation confidence, or long-term financial strategy, these stories all point to one thing: staying proactive keeps residents at the center of care.
Thanks for tuning in and spending a few minutes with us.
And if you want to dive deeper into any of the topics we talked about, you can find all the details in the weekly roundup on Angie's blog at healthcapusa.com/Angie's blog.
We'll see you next week.